Okay. Hi, welcome to Corporate Classy, but please come correct podcast. I am your host again, Alberta Thomas. I am super excited about our first Sunday soul session because this particular area of this whole big podcast journey, I really want to have a particular day where it's very free form. We could talk about anything. I can bring anybody on. We can have random conversations. We can use this time to answer any of the questions that you guys may have for me. So it's going to be very free form, no really structure to it, because I think that's where you get majority of your creativity, the realness, the rawness of anything that you have going on or you want to talk about. So I'm super excited. I have my amazing friend. She do not like when I call her my life coach because she's actually my life coach as well. Rachel Waden. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Cece.
How you doing, Rachel?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I'm excited, Rachel, because we got stuff. We got tea that we need to discuss and just talk about how we navigate all of that. But before we get into that, Rachel, I do want to give the audience a chance to get to know a little bit about you. So kind of tell us a little bit about Rachel, and some of your background, Rachel.
My name is Rachel. I am a certified master life coach. I started doing life coaching back in 2016, 17, and really that's when I got into it, but I really started to embrace it more once I kind of learned more about how to work with people and navigate in that kind of setting back in 2018. So really working with people from all different backgrounds. I started in mental health. I work with victims of trauma, and that's something that I incorporate with my coaching as well, just kind of helping people get from point A to point B and really giving them the ability to have that peace of mind and knowing like, okay, wherever you are right now, it can change today, it can change tomorrow, it can change. Like, I like to help people find joy in the journey that they're in, because it doesn't really matter what you have going on. I'm a firm believer that you can find joy in that. And the more joy you find in where you are, it makes it easier to see where you can go. So that's kind of how I like to navigate when it comes to doing my coaching.
Yes, I love it. I love it, Rachel, because I can tell you, and we're going to get into it a little bit, but I can tell you how much I value that side of you because, man, you helped me navigate a lot over the last couple of years. We've been friends now for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Going on 3.
Going on 3 years. And so I can tell you, man, you got me through some really hard times, some tough times, tough conversations that I personally normally wouldn't have with anybody. And it's because I go through the motion of keeping a lot of that stuff in, which is not always a good case. So being able to literally, whether it's a call, text, I hate texting. So if it's a voice recording, you were always and still always there to help me navigate my life and navigate those things that come up where I feel either stuck or I don't know how to pivot from, or I don't know why it's happening. Just really breaking down my thoughts in a very, a very structural way where it can make sense for my brain on, well, why does that make me feel that way? Or why do I have this particular emotion and where does this emotion stem from? And so I am excited because I think it's super important to talk about us and how we met and how it changed and cultivated to something else that was what we both needed in that time frame. So, Rachel, I don't know how we're gonna kick this off. I don't know how we're gonna kick this off because I think it is important, especially to women, because I know us in our minds, we think a lot of things and we want to either try something or do something, but we don't know how to tell people like, hey, I'm not sure if this is the route I want to take, but let me go for it. So how we gonna start this, Rachel?
So you know what? This is what I when it comes to Sierra, and just everything else in my life in this season. And sometimes we say seasons, and seasons can be long. They can be for a few months. They can be for a couple years. Like, we just don't know. But I do know that when you have a purpose, when you have God in the midst of everything, even when your life might be ghetto and conjumbled, God still has his hand on it. And the places that we might try to go into where the enemy can really wreak havoc, the Lord still goes with us, and he turns it into exactly what we need. And so when I met Sierra, we met on an app.
Literally.
We met on an app. It was Bumble. And it was like, so initially I had the app where you could meet just people in general. I went through just a breakup. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just see what's going on here. So I made the app. Then they had besties, Bumble besties on there as well. And they had it to where you could make friends, you could meet men, or you can, go the other route, meet women. So I had it set to everything pretty much. And when I was like, you know what? Let me see what they talking about on here. So I went to the women's side.
We both went to the women's side.
I went to the women's side, knowing dang well I wasn't about that life. But the thing was, I feel like I was looking for more companionship. And sometimes we don't really understand what we're looking for when we're looking for something. We just know that we're missing something. And so I was like, man, I've been praying for a friend. I've been praying for a friend for a long time, because I felt like the relationship that I had at the time had really exhausted my friendships because it was not healthy. And I felt like my friends were really navigating through that time with me, and they were going through the pain that I was going through. So they were giving me this advice like, girl, please don't talk to that man no more. And I'm like, wait a minute, but I love him. And they were like, but do he love you? I believe so.
I think
he apologized, and I invested so much of myself into this relationship that I was like, you know what? I want to keep trying. Good, bad, I want to make it work. And sometimes God will make you so uncomfortable to the point where something don't work no more. But I kept trying. So I exhausted those friendships with people because they were like, girl, look, I love you too much to continue to watch you get hurt. And at first I was really frustrated, but now when I look back at it, it makes me understand, because we go through life, when we really care about people, we go through life with them. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't understand about adult relationships, especially women friendships, is because, I've seen so many relationships when it comes to women end over something so small, so minute. And I've done a lot of research and looked at different studies when it comes to the reason why. And it's because the intimacy that we build with the opposites and the intimacy that we build with our girlfriends in a platonic relationship is just different.
Right.
There's not chemicals and hormones connecting and attaching us to this individual like it does when we have intimacy with our male partners. So the intimacy that we create with each other is more emotional, and it comes from transparency and vulnerability. And I don't feel like a lot of us sometimes know how to be vulnerable anymore. Even in our friendships, we still trying to be the strong friend. We have hell breaking loose in our personal life, and we can't talk to our friends about it because we're trying to save face. I believe that you have to have one person that you can be 100% transparent with.
Right.
See, one of those people that I can be 100% transparent with and keep it real, and it keeps me together. But going back to when we met, so we met on this site, and I matched her, and I was like, she is a pretty girl, okay? And let me see what you're talking about. So we get to talking. I matched her, she matched me. We started talking, and first conversation, we talking about relationships. We're talking about everything. We having similar situations that she's went through and I'm going through. We were able to just really stop and talk about everything. And we joke about it now, but that's why I'm a big advocate of, what the enemy try to use for bad, God will use it for our good.
Yes.
Because in that space where it was not a conventional thing, God made it exactly what I needed. Because I had a friend that, from that, I found a person who became one of my greatest friends. Because from there, a lot of times when you might get on a site or when you go to meet people, the thing that you like about it is they don't know you. So sometimes you can get on there, you can vent, talk, and then you don't got to worry about seeing that person. You just get to talking, like, I don't even know if I'm gonna see him, so let me go ahead and get this off my chest.
Right. And see, Rachel, that's the good thing too, because and then it can also be exhausting at the same time, because I think too, when you don't have really a place where you have an environment where you feel like you can actively date someone, because either you're on the go, you got things going on, so you can't really go out. And it's so different now to where it's like, okay, how do you actually go on a date? Like, where do you meet someone that's on your caliber that you're able to date or get to know? And so I will say to Rachel, with you, I found that I was a lazy dater. So if I ever swiped left or right, it's because you did it first. I don't believe in spending my time just looking. So I literally paid to see who's going to swipe on me, and so I can give them an opportunity. And it was so draining, and overwhelmingly, I was tired. But yeah. When you and I started talking, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what's happening right now? Just like what you said, but it was so more of, I could say whatever, and I didn't felt like you were judging me. So I wanted to add that in there, because we were in the same boat. And we could have been open, transparent, and gave details that you probably can't give to a friend or to a sister or to your mother or whomever you confine in, because it is that deep. They won't understand because they're not there. They haven't been there, right?
Right. So that, exactly what she just said, because they haven't been there, they wouldn't understand. So sometimes it does happen like that. Which also, I'm a big believer in therapy, even with doing life coaching, I always tell people it is so important, to find a life coach, find a therapist, because sometimes you're not able to navigate through things. And sometimes when it comes to your friendships, because you can overexhaust those people that you have a relationship with, because they're going through the same pain that you're going through, because they care about you so much. And also too, if you're trying to navigate through a relationship that has gone through some hard times, but you're also wanting to still maintain that, I think it's good to work with someone that can help, that's outside the situation, that you don't have so much of a personal relationship with, to help you navigate through that, because they're an outsider looking in, and they're able to kind of help you work on you. Sometimes you get so focused on, okay, how are we going to work on this in terms of a collective, like the relationship. But sometimes a lot of our issues come from individual things that we are dealing with and we have not dealt with. And I heard a quote that said a lot of marital issues come from single individual issues, stuff that you didn't deal with in your singleness, and now in your relationship, your marriage, they're starting to surface.
Right.
And once I really sat back and thought about it, I'm like, that's so true. Because for me, when I look at it, I just look at how my relationships have been over the last couple of years and what that has looked like. And the reason why they have went that way, and really dug deep and did some soul searching. And it was yes, it was the other person, but at the same time, it also brought to surface the lacking growth and the need that I needed to really invest into myself to be a good partner to somebody.
Right. And I think that's important too, because, Rachel, I can tell you how you helped me navigate my life at that point in time where I was transitioning out of a relationship that was going strong for maybe 2 years? Was it about 2 years? I can't even remember, but it's been about 2 years. And I think for me, because I'm getting older, like I'm now 32, but back then I was looking for someone on, finding some stability, because I was always on the move, always on the go. And then I thought I had that stability. And the reality is I really didn't. And I think for the bulk of that, the reason I couldn't get it is because a lot of times we stop relationships from growing and attacking and being with someone who you love very deeply. And you can't really be with them because you're afraid of what somebody might say or what society may say. And was like, I know those two been dating, or I knew they used to date back in the day. So it was at that point of time for me, I was at that breaking point, right? Because I done went through my whole entire life grinding for my career, focusing my energy on that. But also the missing piece that I felt like I was missing in my life was that companionship, right? And that person that was for me, who I could build my family with, and just somebody who's also being able to cater to me, and wanting to continue to do those things. And not because it was good for the moment, for the season. And so at that point in time, when I met you, I was in that phase of, I gotta remove everyone that is not for me out my life. And I wasn't ready to date anyone, really. I was forcing myself to date around, right? But I know truly that I didn't want to be with no one in that moment, because I needed to work on myself. It's like when you want something so bad, or you want to have that missing piece, that missing piece to your puzzle that's not a part of your life, you're going to go hard to try to get that. And I felt myself trying so hard to get that, but I wasn't getting it. So it was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to date about 2 to 3 people. Let me navigate through which one I want, which is fine. But ultimately, I can't give someone completely me, because I haven't dealt with my self issues, myself things that I had going on, because I was always in something. How was I going to heal myself if I kept getting in relationships after relationships? I didn't have time or space to heal myself. And so I remember, Rachel, I went cold turkey, not talking to anyone. I want to say from 6 months to a year, and just honing in and journaling on what my triggers were, what my boundaries were, because I really didn't know exactly what they were. I said I know what my boundaries are, but really deep diving into what it is that I need, what is bothering me, why in relationships I respond a certain type of way, why do I get so angry, why can't I have this? And so I really think it's important, just off my journey with you, is that having someone to talk to, like a life coach, where you can be openly with, our therapy, or who a therapist, like whoever, where you can openly talk about things with, that's not gonna judge you, even though whomever, like if you do like a friend or a family, they'll tell you all the time, we're not judging you, like da 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 da. You probably not, but again, it's not the response that you're needing, because ultimately, I feel like those people know you and they're gonna want to try to protect you to make sure you feel good and all of those things, which some are gonna be devil's advocate or give you, not really support you in this matter, or give you some extra things based upon where you guys are at in that friendship or that relationship. But I think ultimately for me, I was able to pour myself into you and just say whatever, even if it didn't make sense to me, just say whatever I wanted to say, and navigate that through you. And you helped me navigate life. Like, it was rough. I would say, what, when we first met, like going on 3 years ago, it was rough. It was rough during that time.
It was. You know what I also realized too, the importance of maintaining healthy just boundaries. You know, like I said, I feel like I exhausted my friends when it came to my relationship, but also the importance of having healthy boundaries in every relationship that you have. And I say that because you still need to maintain your relationship with your girlfriends and your family just as much as you are needing to maintain the relationship that you're wanting to have with your potential significant other.
Yes.
And a lot of times we immerse ourselves and really just dive into our relationships with our men or our partners, that those relationships that we have with our girlfriends or the people that have been with us since the beginning, they don't get invested in anymore. And so they start to kind of, they don't lose its value, but they start to lose the connection that is needed to really maintain in all seasons. And so that is why I feel like, you know, you're looking for companionship when you have friends that you need to just really pour into, because when any relationship ends, what happens? You start calling your girlfriend. You're like, hey girl, how you doing? Or even men too. Like they want to be outside with the bros and stuff. You know?
Right.
I've heard them do it. So it's like, and your friends are like, where you been at? You know, like sometimes it'd be like, it's the audacity for me. Like, I've been checking on you. I've been trying to see how you been, and you act like you couldn't even get back to me. So it's like, you need to make sure that you continue to pour in and maintain those relationships that you have with your friends, because it's all about balance. All those people that are in your life, from your friendships to your family to your partner that you're choosing to be with, or the person that you have committed yourself to, all those relationships are essential to you as an individual, in a whole, you know, because parts of yourself has chosen the people that are in your life, whether it be old seasons that you had met that person, you know, or the season where you've been developing, or the season where you were healing, or season where they're a part of you chose to become friends with that person, or have that person help you navigate through a certain time. That is a part of you. So making sure that you continue to find balance in all those relationships are essential to you being in a healthy relationship. Because sometimes too, what I've learned is we put a lot of, when we are in a relationship, yes, it is important for our partner or our man to be that person that we need or we go to, because that's our protector, our leader, the person that we are really connecting to and really choosing to do life with long term, whether it be to be with them long term or get married. That is what we're choosing to do with them. And so there is a vulnerability that we must have in order to really have a healthy relationship, especially if you're looking at feminine and masculine energy. There's a certain level of vulnerability that needs to go into having a healthy relationship with your man. But also too, I've learned that we put pressure on our men, that sometimes if we had our healthy relationships with our girlfriends, that it would alleviate some of that pressure. Or, really want to get into it, having that relationship with God, really having a healthy relationship with God, because sometimes we be putting extra stuff on our man that only God can fix. He cannot fix, our man cannot help us fix some of the things that we are dealing with that we need to be going to God about, or really talking to our girlfriends about at times, because he just can't. Especially when it comes to just healing, dealing with brokenness. Because I do believe that you can still, what I've learned is, you can take a break from dating, but a lot of times when you enter back into a relationship, you start learning like, maybe I'm not ready. And what I've learned from that is that you can be single and be happy, but but the thing is, you're not dealing with your triggers that you deal with when it comes to relationships, vulnerability, and intimacy. So with Sierra, I can have this friendship with her. I can talk to her about everything, and we can laugh and play. And there is a sense of vulnerability. But then when I'm in a relationship with my partner, I've learned that I didn't deal with those triggers. I didn't deal with those triggers because there weren't situations that come within a romantic relationship that sometimes arrive that I wasn't aware of. Like, okay, Sierra, don't answer my phone call. Girl, I will talk to you. We will talk, okay? But let your man not answer your phone call. You sometimes might feel some type of way, like, wait a minute, like, okay, you get in your head a little bit. That's a trigger. Why are you those are things that we don't deal with when we're in our relationship with our girlfriends. Or sometimes being misunderstood, like, okay, I already know how she is, so, but when your man don't understand you, it's like, wait a minute, you don't understand me? Like, do you not care about me?
Right.
It's not that deep, but it's because we haven't worked through those triggers. So that's why I tell people, you can heal and you can be single, you can go through that space, do that healing, and then you have some people like, I just want to be in a relationship. Okay, that's fine too. You got to do what works for you, but either way, you're gonna have to work through some triggers because you're not able to work through those in those relationships that are outside of a romantic partnership with somebody, because there's a different level of vulnerability and attachment that's going to be present in your platonic relationship with your best friend and your man.
And that's so true, Rachel, because you unpacked a lot there, and I hope you guys were able to take away some of that, because I can say for me, actually being in a relationship now versus back then, where I didn't deal with anything, right? I had to learn how to figure out what really bothers me and like why, and so like now the relationship I'm in, I'm able to communicate more effectively. I'm able to talk about my triggers. I'm able to talk about the boundary setting and what, I want to offer up and what's just like a deal breaker for me, and vice versa. And so I think you paint a really good picture there. And not only that, to kind of flip it to the more friendship side of things, because for me, that's where I'm continuing to work on a balance there, right? Because when you get in a relationship, you're so excited, yeah, everything is going good and all of those things and get the little butterflies. But also you got to continue to maintain those relationships that you had before, where maybe you did used to talk to your friend every day, all day, and all of those things, but you're in a different space. And I think being able to understand or coming to agreement from both parties is super exciting to see. But also understand that you may have to add your friend to your schedule. Like sometimes things have to be scheduled. The same way how with me and my guy, we have to schedule things because we got too many things going on in a day. So just making sure someone knows, whether it's a friend or your partner, making sure they know that, I'm including you into everything else that's a fire drill or that's high priority in my life because it's so much things happening. And I think too, I'm continuing to learn how to navigate the balance between friends and a relationship because it can be hard. It could be hard navigating through that. Now, sometimes it can be easy if you got a whole bunch of friends who have husbands and wives and all of those things. It could be a different story because they can relate, right? And so I think for me, it's just allowing people to understand like you are important to me. That's why I'm incorporating you into my priorities. Whether that's a 30-minute conversation. And you know what? The crazy thing is, Rachel, how many times I call you? I'm like, Rachel, like I called you 2 times and I still ain't heard from you.
I'm so sorry. And when I get to you like, don't make me have to. I'm like, please wait. I'm sorry, Sierra. I'm sorry.
Horrible. She's just so horrible.
No.
But I understand though. But I'm listen, I'm in my feelings at the same time, but I do understand. You got my beautiful godchild, and she's quiet right now. And you have the boys. So I know, in just life, like I know you got things that you're doing. And I think from me as that friend trying to get in contact with my friend is more so of making sure I'm aware of what's happening and making sure that I understand like it's life, like you got things going on, and that she'll reach out and we'll still be good. So even if we don't talk for a week or so, a couple of weeks, we went a couple of weeks and not really talk, but I know that you're going to be good. Like you're fine. And I understand. And when we talk, we just pick back up from where we left off before. And those are the relationships for me that last long. Like I've had my group of friends, which I only have a few, literally, they last that long because we understand that we came to some common grounds. And we support each other. I think support is super important. Just knowing I'm going to have Rachel at any point in my time. Like she's going to have my back regardless. Yes. If I text and say, Rachel, I really need like 5 minutes, like you make it happen. And so those are the things that I look for as a friend that is super important because life, like we got a lot going on,
Well, but that's the other thing too, communication with your friends, because even when it comes to my sister, my other friends, I'd be like, girl, if it is an emergency, please say 911 or let me know to call you back immediately, because I do get lost in trying to do different things and work and bounce on my kids and stuff like that, it's not even intentional. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call back after I finish this. Then I start feeding the baby. I'm like, dang, I'm going to call back after this, because when I talk to you, I want to be able to talk to you without all the extra distractions. And you know what? That's something that I think about too, because in my new developing relationship that I have with my man, what I'm learning is just communication and perception on things, because it was a situation where I went to get some food for breakfast and he was sleeping. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go grab some food so I can make sure I have some breakfast. And because it's not every day I get to see him and he's able to just relax and stuff. So let him sleeping and I'm going to leave, get some breakfast. I'm going to come back. But I was gone a little bit longer than I thought I was going to be. And my phone had died and everything. And then the situation came to where I came back home. He was like, dang, you left. And I was like, I did. and I was like, I'm so sorry. He was like, yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, maybe she wants to go get breakfast. I'm not sure. But when you're coming from two different backgrounds when it comes to relationships, you don't realize what bothers someone, especially when you're coming from relationships with a background where your partner cheated or there was infidelity and stuff. It might send a trigger that you're not even thinking about or aware of. And so, it was like, I came back and I was like, well, how did that make you feel? Like when I was gone, because even though we might joke about things that actually bother us, and I was like, dang, she just left like that. Like, and for me, I was like, well, let me tell you where I was coming from, because I was like, he's resting. He's very tired. I know he's very tired because he literally worked all week. And so I want him to rest. I can text him, but I know that if I send him a text message, it's going to be loud because his phone right by his ear. And he's going to wake up, and I don't want him to do that because I want him to sleep. So I'm going to be back. And so his perception was like, well, dang, you could have texted me. And so when we talked about where each other was coming from, it was like, okay, you know what? I'm glad we had that talk. But how did that make you feel? He told me how it made him feel. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that it made you feel that way. Because a lot of times, even though something may not make sense to us, what I'm learning is what's important to your partner has to be important to you, especially if that is really important to them. And sometimes we do have to apologize for things that may not necessarily be a deal to us, but it might be a deal to them. So because I made you feel this way, I'm sorry for that. It wasn't intentional. But moving forward, I will make sure that I'm mindful that I do this next time. But also, because you had that conversation, they now know what might be possible in regards to a situation that might be similar to that. But it's just about communication, finding commonality, getting on a common ground that really helps relationships, especially when you are working with people that are dealing with healing through traumatic situations and stuff. You got to find the right person to help you do that. Not everybody is meant to help you be a part of your healing journey, especially when you are trying to date and be in a relationship with somebody.
I agree, Rachel, because you unpacked a lot there. And I hear my baby Nova in the background. That's my guy, baby. But you unpacked a lot there, and it ultimately just boils down to understanding your partner and making sure you're actively listening and seeing, how can I prevent this from happening forward, and be aware of those things. And I think that's super important. And you unpacked a lot, Rachel, and we can go on and on. She will be back because we have endless topics, conversations that we can continue to talk about. Like, we need time, right? So we're going to continue to unpack that together throughout this journey. But Rachel, before we kind of end this episode, this session on Sunday, right? I do want to ask you this question because I think it's important to understanding in life, you got to give yourself permission to pivot. And my question to you is, Rachel, what are you going to give yourself permission to do, or what are you going to give yourself permission to move from?
I'm going to give myself permission to just embrace more of who I'm becoming. And I'm going to give myself permission to pivot from who I was. I think sometimes when we are in this space where we're really developing and growing, and we've had different life experiences that have changed and shaped our character, we don't know how to change with what has been presented to us. And so just really choosing to move forward and to take the lesson from what I've learned, but not wear it as not use it as a crutch or wear it as a badge of pain, but just really choose to grow from that and just be a better woman, be a better person, be a better partner, be a better mother, and a better friend. That's what I'm choosing to do.
Yes. Well, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you. We always kept saying, oh my God, we got to record some things. We got to get it done. And we're getting it done. But
Yes.
thank you for opening up and allowing us both to open up and kind of share how we met in this journey and how we were able to pivot from one thing. Because in that time, God know exactly what we both needed and know we can feed off each other so heavily. But thank you, Rachel. Thank you guys for tuning
Thank
in
you.
on this Sunday for our very first Sunday session. And again, I am your host, Alberta Thomas. Thank you for tuning in to Corporate Classy, but please come correct podcast. Until next time.
Until next time.